This is David Wheaton. The following is a short take from the Christian Worldview radio program. You can hear the full program at thechristianworldview.org. Scott, what are some of your recommendations for how parents should regulate or even restrict things like computers and the internet and phones and technology and video games and these types of things, which are very different now that no previous generation has really had to deal with to this degree?
You mentioned, TV and phones and computers. There's so much positive that can be done with these things, right? Teaching the scriptures, even just pure wholesome entertainment. There's so much positive, but there's a whole lot of potential for the devil to use these things to infect us with worldliness as well. Our oldest is 18, and I've had conversations with him. I've told him straight up that I am scared to death of what he will encounter in this world, and even just accidentally stumble on something that is going to poison his mind and lead him into sin. My first recommendation is to have, especially with older children, very direct conversations about these things. I want him to know that the rules that we have in our home and the guidelines and the protection is not just something that we're doing because we don't trust them, or perhaps we're overly protective, or, the caricature that a lot of people like to use is your helicopter parents and that sort of thing. No, we are trying to protect them, but no differently than we as adults ought to be protecting ourselves. We need to be protecting ourselves from that kind of worldly content as well. So a big recommendation that I have, and this has always been the case with my wife and me, and then as our children have grown older and as they begin to have access to the computer and the internet, and then eventually once they start driving, they have a cell phone and that sort of thing, we make use of filters and accountability software. So filters just help prevent mistakes, accidents, like you click on something and then, oops, you see something you can never get out of your mind anymore. There are so many resources today, filters that you can put on all of your devices that just help to prevent that. And I have those filters just like I put on my children's devices and our older kids' devices. And then also accountability software. So when my 18-year-old son began to drive and we got him a cell phone, I put accountability on his devices, his cell phone and his computer, and I also have the same accountability software on my devices. And what that software does is it sends emails to accountability partners when there's potentially something questionable, and you can just see a log of every single website that the person goes to. And so I am my son's accountability partner, and he is my accountability partner. And we've had conversations about why this is helpful and important. It removes temptation, it removes accidents, it provides accountability. And I've told him, when you leave our home, I hope that we will continue to be each other's accountability partner. I want you always to be my accountability partner and me to be yours. My wife has always had access to all my devices and accountability as well. And again, this is not because we're like hyper untrusting. It's simply wise means by which we can protect ourselves from our own sinful flesh, from temptation, and from the temptation that is coming from without, from Satan and from the world itself. These are wise means of protection and accountability in situations like you mentioned a moment ago that nobody had to deal with. It used to be, even when I was young, but certainly in history in the past, it used to be in order to get your hands on the worst sorts of evil, you had to go and look for it and search for it and go to certain places. Now you've got it in your pocket. And so we have to protect ourselves and we have to protect our children. So I think it's a both and. Use the software, use the protective measures, the accountability software, put limits on screen time and all of that. That is so important for your children. But don't just do that to the neglect of having conversations, because you could raise legalists who just are doing things because there's a list of rules. So it's very important to talk to our kids about why we are doing these things, why we have accountability, why we are protecting ourselves, and help them to grow to be discerning and vigilant about the roaring lion who is seeking to devour us.
This has been a short take from the Christian Worldview radio program. To hear the full program and connect with this nonprofit radio ministry, go to thechristianworldview.org. I'm David Wheaton.